Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Opportunistic Trader. We're now joined by Mark Fisher. And for those of you that don't know, Mark is an influential member of the futures industry, a globally respected trader, and a guest speaker at many conferences. He's also the best-selling author of The Logical Trader, Applying a Method to the Madness, the dissertation of the ACD method. How's it going today, Mark?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Good, good. So we haven't spoken in a little while. We were off last week with the holiday Thanksgiving. What are your thoughts on Nat Gas and Crude? I guess we can start there.
Well, Nat Gas is Russian roulette now at this point. Is the weather going to stay cold? Is it going to materialize? If it does, who knows what happens? And if the weather changes, the market will fall off its cliff. But again, that breakout happened. So, how high is high? I don't know. Everyone's looking for, the market to sell off when weather changes. But I think that people are nervous enough. And again, you have all the momentum players now that Nat Gas, like we said, has been the best performing asset class, there is. And so, again, I wouldn't get short yet. And again, look at the volatility around the TC expiration. It was insane, So again, how high is high? I don't know. I think everyone's afraid to be long, which is the reason why it'll still go up. Obviously, people are worried about the weather. But again, this could be the 1 in 12-year winter where the market does go to $10.
So are we basically weather dependent on natural gas, or are there any other stories with it?
I think it's 95% weather dependent.
Gotcha.
Weather dependent versus storage.
And so is it right now, are we seeing a colder winter right now, and that's what's really driving the prices, a combination of price action as well taking it?
And colder winter and low storage and anticipation of a much colder winter relative to normal.
What about crude? Today's been a wild day itself. We traded down to 49.65, which was about yesterday's overnight low, but we rallied back very strongly. We're right now trading 51.35. Is it something G20 related, or what's going on with crude these days?
I think crude, and I've been wrong, is a function of there's no one to take the other side of all these of all the momentum traders that have made a ton of money being short. I think OPEC is, I don't know how the Saudi Arabia thing plays out this weekend with the G20 meeting. And also remember, you have the huge hedge of the Mexican, hedge that gets put out every year by Mexico, where Wall Street sells, where Mexico locks in production by buying puts, and Wall Street sells the puts. And this year you had dynamic, hedging on the way down. So Wall Street's either had to, against their short put position, have to sell futures, to keep up with the thing, or to try to buy back their puts. And the put call skew is enormous. I mean, if you look at like where I think March is trading like $52, and the March 45 puts are trading like, I don't know, $1.80.
Wow.
That's a big number.
So how would you? Is there a specific? I know you mentioned before you've been looking at the long side.
I'm comfortable selling puts in crude.
Far, like a few months out, or short?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. What about G20 coming up this week? Right now, this weekend. Right now, S&P is very quiet on the day. We're only down about a point, but the straddle for Monday, the S&P straddle for Monday at the money is trading about $48. That implies just under 2% move. What are your thoughts on the G20 and that kind of straddle, and what do you think for S&P?
I'm not smart enough to know what's going to happen to G20, but I do think longer term, being short S&Ps in ratio and being short bonds, being short the hard paper spread, being short those two is going to work. If you look at it, it's broken out. It's above its above its range from July. It's broken out on the chart. So I think the ratio of being short paper, stock and bonds together as a pair, is where I feel comfortable. The days when stocks can go up, but the bonds can come off. To be days the bonds go down, but stocks go up. And net, I think being short both as a pair is the way to go.
And is that something you think can be a good trend into the end of the year for the next few weeks?
I think that's going to be a good trend for the next 2-3 years.
Is that based on something that the Fed is anything having to do with the Fed and what they, Powell recently said, or?
I think it's just basically momentum for 10. And now I think it's just the opposite.
Gotcha. What about non-market related opportunities? So not necessarily something in the futures market or equity market, but what do you find interesting that's not necessarily in the market right here over the next year as we look into 2019?
Well, Mike, I'm working on this token thing that I've talked to you about. I don't really want to talk about it too much. It comes out, but that token thing that we're working on, I think is going to be a revolutionary. It's going to be the first real bona fide token that uses blockchains in a sensible way that people understand that there's real value behind it. So I'm excited about that.
Anything else that is on the radar that you find interesting or you're hearing a lot of people talk about?
No, no. I do think though one thing, because we talk about food all the time, me and you. I do think there's a pizza war going on, and no one really sees it. I think
Pizza
that
war. Go,
so if you
please.
look right, so if you look at all these pizza places like Domino's, there's a pizza war going on. So Domino's, I think that I think that there could be a fallout in the pizza business because they're just all too. You can buy it's too cheap.
So what's the trade on that?
I guess be short Domino's and the rest of them.
Oh, you're saying that the competition has driven prices down, and there's just pizza everywhere, and they're cannibalizing each other.
Yes.
Pizza is pretty good.
Right.
I
All right, I
always
got to
got
run,
it.
Mike. That's it. Where's our friend Larry today?
Larry just stepped out. One last question I had for you. What are you? And this came from somebody else. What sort of strategies are being pitched to you the most right now? Market
The,
related.
stra- the strategy being pitched to me the most is either cannabis stocks or economic opportunity zones.
Gotcha.
All
Uh,
right.
all right. Well, Mark, thanks for the information. We'll be back to you again. We'll hear from you next week. We'll keep you updated.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.